The brown Ethiopian country, also known as Abyssinia, or however you pronounce it, and officially known as the Dynastic Kingdoms of Abyssinia. I don't know how to pronounce that. This country located in the Horn of Africa, East Africa. It shared the land border with France and the Dark Purple Team to the north and Tanzania to the south. It also shared a more maritime border with the Green Yemen country and the Blue Yemen country to the north and Persian India to the east. Found in episode 4, it was the first country to control the entire Horn of Africa and Wicso. The Brown Team history, episode 4, Independence. In episode 4, the Sky Team was collapsing because they had bad tension with everybody and they went to land. The first to take land was the Dark Blue Team, Egypt plus Egypt plus. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. Then the Red Team, and finally the the brown Ethiopian country declared its independence from the collapsing government. Brown Ethiopia was first in Somaliland and Puntland. Episode 7. In Episode 7, the Sky Team and Brown Ethiopia are beefing due to a dispute on a trade connection buildings, and one of them killed the kings. This led to a war. The Brown Ethiopian team has the advantage at first, but however, the Sky Team pushes back and it goes back and forth for many times until the Brown Ethiopian country wins and takes a lot of land from the Sky Team. The king, who is a new one, is angered by the losses of people and plans for expansion in June. Eventually, Brown Ethiopia sends explorer slaves and commanders to expand into the Horn of Africa. And Brown Ethiopia, then the Sky Team tries to counter Brown Ethiopia by expanding after expansion, but Brown India has lands in Somalia and Ethiopia. Brown Ethiopia eventually plans for the second expansion in August. Episode 8, the second expansion. In Episode 8, Brown Ethiopia does its second expansion in August. First, they expand into Ethiopia and parts of Sudan. Eventually, they discover a river where it rains. Brown Ethiopia explores and commanders collect this water and tell the monarch about this water source, and eventually they sell this water, which boosts their economy and leads to more expansion. And eventually they send more people to discover more resources in Tanzania, Lake Victoria, and South Sudan. And eventually this expands down to the tip of Somalia and Ethiopia and encircles the Sky Team. Episode 8.5, The Great Plague. In episode 8.5, the plague attacked Brown Ethiopia, leading to the loss of millions of people, pausing their expansion. However, the government handles the plague well, so they don't lose any land. Just additionally, they cut off the Sky Team from any resources, and Brown Ethiopia closes their borders. However, they're starting to looking to start a trade with the Lion Team and the Blue Team. Episode 9. In Episode 9, Brown Ethiopia saw a new country come into existence, Eritrea. They never contacted Eritrea, however, they used them as a tool for contact with the Red Team and the border away from Egyptus, as they hated that they controlled the opening of the Nile River. Episode 11, the third expansion. In Episode 11, when Egyptus was collapsing, some lands from Egyptus joined Brown Ethiopia, and more lands joined Eritrea. To thank them, they gave them money and a better quality of life. One day later, Egyptus had other breakaways being the Beige Sudan team in Libya. This got Brown Ethiopia more excited as their rival was dying, but they expanded around their new land, gaining more resources and expanding into the north and south of Ethiopia. Episode 13. In Episode 13, the rival Egyptians collapsed. This led to the Brown Ethiopian monarch having new trade connections with New Egypt and Sudan. They traded crops, boosting their economy, leading to a heavy economic growth. Soon the government planned for their fourth expansion. Episode 20, the fourth expansion and the second invasion of the Sky Team. In episode 20, the beef between Brown Ethiopia and Sky Team has risen again. However, this time, Brown Ethiopia takes over the entire Sky Team, making them cease to exist as well. The fourth expansion was delayed because of this invasion. The beef rose up again because the Sky Team threw food at a royal Brown Ethiopian family. This led to them having a war and killing the king of the Sky Team. The Scramble of Africa. The purple Libyan country sent a message to Brown Ethiopia about its invasion and end of these African monarchies. However, Brown Ethiopia said we will be able to survive, and when the dark purple team claims the west of Brown Ethiopia and North Iberia claims most of it. And eventually, the Brown Ethiopia government panics because of this invasion of Egypt, because of invasion of Egypt in Sudan. This led to doing propaganda, hoping their people will fight against these invaders. Eventually, Eritrea falls in the purple Libya. The North Iberian team takes the north of Somalia and starts head into central of Brown Ethiopia. However, the people fight and manage to make North Iberia run out of troops and resources as they put up very good food resistance. But this does not stop them, and they get majority of their country, and they eventually hold on to their capital area. The dark purple team takes rest of their Ethiopian land, and in the peace treaty, they hold on to the tip of the Horn of Africa. However, Brown Ethiopia is worried about an invasion again. Episode 26. After World War I, the Great Depression happened. This led to Brown Ethiopia not wanting to fight invasions, as the Brown Ethiopia government closed their borders in episode 24. This led to Brown Ethiopia losing trust with the government, and eventually Brown Ethiopia became poor, and the monarchy was abolished, being replaced by a democratic government. Episode 29, the collapse. In episode 29, Brown Ethiopia found out about the plan for the second invasion. However, being too poor, they did the bare minimum. They made it public to the people. However, naval ships from North Iberia killed all the commanders, and eventually Brown Ethiopia lost connection, and the invasion began. The invasion was left with no resistance and no troops dying. However, the Iberian team executed the royal family, and in the peace treaty, the great dynasty of Abyssinia was made to not exist ever again. However, in episode 32, Abyssinia will have a successor, the Science Somalian team, taking their place as Abyssinia. Abyssinia's legacy. Yeah, it was one of the 4 only countries not to get colonized during the scramble for Africa, and there was only like 3 countries who were planned to still exist, but Abyssinia was the only one who wasn't planned on still existing to be alive. Like Tanzania, South Africa, and the African Union were not going to get colonized, but Abyssinia was planned to get colonized, but only a little bit of it did. Well, major part, but the rest did not. So, congrats for them for surviving that and showing their strength, even though the strength weakened after episode. And they were also the first political country to control the Horn of Africa, so congrats for them again. Anyways, hopefully you liked the video, and if you did, please subscribe, and please, I want Addizpro to watch one of those videos one day, explaining one of his countries, so please mention him. And please try to get him to watch this, or another video that I make about what if blank made the history of blank from Addizpro's Wicso series. Please. But anyways, goodbye.